Hello, my name is Tawawn Lowe, and welcome to New Beginnings, our series talking about how to reboot your life and start over. I want to thank everybody who is on this Google Hangout or watching on YouTube for joining us today. We are going to have such a phenomenal time this evening. I hope you were able to get the first one and that you were here last week when we talked about embracing change. I gave you the 6 steps that you could use whenever you're going through change and you need to embrace where you are. I am excited about this series. I am excited about all of the feedback that I have been getting from the women. When I hung up the phone, or when not hung up the phone, but when I got off the computer last week, I had about 5 messages already talking about how this Google Hangout series start was excellent, how the women enjoyed it, and how they got some nuggets from it. So before we move further and go into our guests for the night, what I want to do is introduce my speakers again to you all who will be helping me during this series. And I want to first introduce Gail Crowder. She is the founder of Gail Crowder Inc., the One Sexy Wife. Gail, could you wave to everybody, please? Gail, you going to wave for us? Okay, well, hopefully you have seen Gail's picture. And the next person I want to introduce is Miss Joy Denise Brown. She is from True Vision Church all the way from San Antonio. She's the first lady who is going to be bringing a good word to us. Joy, if you could just wave, please. A matter of fact, I think Joy is on her cell phone, so you might not be able to see her. Oh, I see her blowing a kiss. Okay, I see her blowing a kiss. I'm excited about this evening's presentation and topic because one of the things that is very important when you're talking about a new beginning and when you're talking about change is how to deal and confront your fears, because fear is the one thing that keeps us bound, that keeps us from moving and keeps us from our full potential. I posted earlier today, or I believe on yesterday, that fear is false evidence altering our reality. And that's what it does. It's really just false evidence that we have nothing to substantiate it, that alters who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing with our lives. I'm happy to say that the person that I chose to speak about this subject is an authority in this subject. Her name is Kiki Ramsey. She's with Kiki Ramsey International, and Kiki is the Get Courageous coach. Kiki, can you just wave right quick while I finish introducing you? Okay, I think Kiki heard me. Hopefully she waving at you all. But Kiki has a movement called Get Courageous, and you'll hear more about that. So Kiki is going to do tonight, she's going to share her story with us, and she's going to give us some points about how we can get courageous and confront our fears. So I'm going to ask you kind of just to sit back, get your pen and your paper, get comfy in your chair, get your frappuccino, your iced tea, whatever it is, sip on it, take notes, because the next voice that you will hear will be Kiki Ramsey, and she will be bringing us tips, nuggets, and that secret sauce of how we can confront our fears. The next voice you hear, Kiki.
I'm gonna unmute myself. Please. Can you hear me? I'm good. Okay, hold on. My microphone unmuted. Okay, I think we good. Yes. Okay. Hey, Tawawn, thank you so much for having me on this series. I really appreciate you having me, and I am so excited and ready to share with you beautiful women on how to get courageous and how to overcome your fears. And I know that so many of us have dealt with fear in our lives. Every time I ask the question to an audience or to a woman, have you dealt with fear, I pretty much already know the answer. But the one thing is, a lot of times we don't really want to admit that we have fear. because it's not always a pretty thing. But at the same time, we're going to talk about when you don't admit that you have fears, how it absolutely hinders you. So for some of you, I'll just give you a quick overview of who I am in my story. When I was about 10 years old, I actually realized that my mom was addicted to crack cocaine. And it was just a very devastating experience for me. And with that, many of my fears started at that time. I was scared that I wasn't going to be taken care of. I was scared that I wasn't going to be loved. I was scared that my mom was going to get hurt while she was out doing drugs. So many fears started to manifest in me, and I became a very scary child, if you understand what I mean. And a lot of times when we face fears and we become scared at a very young age, we actually bring that scaredness to our lives in the future. And then when I was 16 years old, I ended up getting pregnant and had my son at 17. And that also just created another level of fear in my life, because I was scared that I would never amount to anything. I was scared that I couldn't please people in my life, and people would look at me as a joke or just another statistic. And all these fears just started to perpetuate in my life, to the point where I started to believe that I was never going to be successful. I was never going to be that person who could command the room. I didn't have the confidence that I wanted to. And then I had to decide to actually get my act together and learn how to build my confidence and learn how to overcome my fears. And so that is exactly what I'm going to be teaching you tonight, because fear is one of those things that can truly, truly, truly change, ruin, or halt your life. Did you hear what I said? Fear can either change, ruin, or halt your life from moving forward. What do I mean? Change. Okay, if you're going in a direction that is going to prosper you, you're going to reach your goals and everything, and then you start to get scared, then your fear is going to change and alter the direction of your life. Did you hear me? It'll change and alter the direction of your life. It will make your life bad. It will halt your life. How many times have you said to yourself, I wish I was in another place, or I should be in another place by now? That's because fear has halted you from reaching your goals and from moving forward. Well, tonight we're going to talk about how to overcome that so that you don't have to experience a life that you don't want. I truly believe that God has placed us all on this earth to be amazing creatures. I mean, you are the most unique thing that He's ever made. He's giving you so much power, but sometimes we just do not honestly walk in our power because we choose to give it away, and most of the time we choose to give it to fear. So I'm excited to talk to you about what this all means, and so I want us to get right into it. So fear, let's talk about fear. Fear is this four-letter word that, like I said, can change, can halt your life, and it can even ruin your life if you allow it. It has ruined millions of lives. I believe that fear is one of those things that has ruined the most lives out of anything, because people are not able to fulfill their destiny when they allow themselves to succumb to fear. It's that emotion that keeps you from reaching your full potential. Fear is that thing that holds you back. It keeps you stuck, and it keeps you worrying about how to pay your overdue bills. It keeps you worrying about your health. It keeps you worried about the status of your relationship. And it even keeps you up at night thinking about all the things that's going wrong in your life. All these things actually stem from the word fear and that emotion fear. So let me ask you, do you know why fear is so powerful? Well, I'll tell you. The answer to this question might sound a little tricky, but the reason fear is so powerful, because honestly, fear has a good intention. The intention of fear is to actually keep you safe. That's what fear is all about. It's there to keep you safe. So if a dog started chasing you down the street, automatically your fear intuition would kick in, and I hope you will start running. So, but that's what fear does. It's there to keep you safe. But here's what fear doesn't know. Fear doesn't know that it's holding you back from your dreams. It doesn't know that it's holding you back from your God-given purpose. It's your job to look fear in the face and walk right through it. But so many of us look fear in the face and we turn around and we run. Well, today we're going to operate on a new definition of fear, and that is face everything and rise. That's the new definition that we're going to operate when we're talking about fear, because we're going to face our fears, we're going to face everything, and we're going to rise up, because that is what God is calling each and every one of us to do. And so we're not going to allow fear to hold us back. But before we even do that, I got a couple things that I'm going to teach you in how to overcome your fear and get courageous. But before we do that, I want to go down the 7 main fears that hold most of us, especially women, back. These are universal, but a lot of times we as women, we're held back by these 7 things. And I want you to look at these 7 things, and then I want you to see which one you identify with and tell me which one holds you back the most, so that we can make sure we address that. So number 1, the fear of the unknown. Yes, the fear of the unknown is a huge one. So many people have trouble with the fear of the unknown. This is when your mind tells you that in order to move forward, in order to move forward, you must know what's going to happen, because if you know, then you can control the situation and the outcome. Hello. Do I have some control freaks in the class tonight? Yes, I know, because I'm one of them. But here's the danger about the fear of the unknown. If you don't address the fear of the unknown, you will miss opportunities, you won't take chances, and you'll stay stuck because you're too scared to move forward, because you don't know what's going to happen. Honestly, the fear of the unknown is the opposite of faith. So many of us say we have faith. Oh, I have faith. I know God gonna do it. He gonna work it out. I know He is. But yet and still, we scared to move forward because we don't know what God is gonna do and how He's gonna work it out, and we are not the ones in control. But when you decide to overcome the fear of the unknown, you'll choose to walk in your faith. But that's a huge one, the fear of the unknown. So many of us have it. We don't leave jobs because we're so scared of what the next job might hold. We don't start our businesses because we're too scared at what that business might hold, that we might not get clients. But what if you do get clients? And what if the next job is 1,000 times better than the job that you have right now? But you're choosing to allow the fear of the unknown to stop you. Okay. The next one is the fear of failure. This is the opposite. I'm trying to tell you, it's the opposite. A lot of times people talk about the fear of success, but it's still really the fear of failure, because you feel that you're going to fail. The fear of failure rules over our actions, your decisions, and believe it or not, it rules over all the things that we do and all the things that we don't do. So if you have not done something in your life, if you haven't gone after a goal that you know you can actually go after that goal, you know you can complete that goal, but you have decided not to go after that goal, you probably have a fear of failure. And it is prevalent. I've seen so many talented women who know exactly what they're doing, who are so powerful, so scared to go after what it is that they know that they can do. I'm getting a lot of feedback there. Alrighty, so the third one is the fear of pain. Now this one is a very interesting one, and a lot of people don't realize the fear of pain. This is whether it's emotional or physical. The fear of pain causes most people, mostly all people, to tend to stay away from things that causes pain. Now, it's a survival instinct. And this is why it's so hard for most of us to stop our bad habits. This is called the pain and the pleasure principle. Which this means you actually know this principle, but you probably never heard it explained like this, because all of us tend to want to stay away from pain. We don't want to do anything that causes us pain. I know I'm number one who doesn't want to do anything that causes me pain. So the pain and pleasure principle says this: that all humans are born with a pleasure principle, which means that we all seek immediate gratification of our needs, and our bodies will reward us with a feeling of pleasure. The reverse is also true. So the reverse is true, and the pain principle says with seeking pleasure, we all seek to avoid pain. So you seek to get pleasure and avoid pain. So simply put, if the pleasure, I want y'all to follow me now, if the pleasure of doing something bad for you is more than the pain of quitting, then you will continue to do what's bad for you. So let me put it in layman's terms. If the pleasure of smoking that cigarette, if you smoke, if the pleasure of smoking that cigarette is more than the pain of you quitting, then you're going to continue to smoke that cigarette. Because if it doesn't cause you enough pain and you want that pleasure, then you are going to continue to smoke cigarettes. So what has to happen in this situation is that the pain has to be more than the pleasure. That pain has to be more than the pleasure of you smoking that cigarette. Meaning you got to know that you're going to get cancer or lung disease or something if you continue to smoke that cigarette. That's what it means. And that's why it's so hard for us to stop doing those bad habits. That also works along with losing weight. If the pleasure of eating all those awesome foods, that juicy chicken and fried fish and all those sweets and cupcakes and all those things, if those things continue to be more pleasurable than the weight that you gain and the obesity and the heart disease, then you will continue to gain that weight. It's not until the pain becomes more than the pleasure that you will learn to lose that weight. And I'm only putting it in terms that we can all remember and explain, because I need you to understand that this thing happens in your life, and it happens in my life, and it happens in every other woman's life, and you are not alone. Okay? So number 4, the fear of rejection. Wow. How many people pleasers do I have in the class tonight? I say that I am a recovering people pleaser, because I've always loved to do things the right way, for people to like me. And there's nothing wrong with people liking you, but when it gets obsessive, when that's all you can think of, and when your whole personality and self-esteem is built on what other people say or think about you, then it becomes a problem. It becomes a major problem in your life. So the fear of rejection is one of the main reasons people act the way they do, and one of the main reasons people tend to follow their actions is because they want to avoid dealing with rejection. So especially from society, because society will tell us you need to act a certain way to be successful, you need to look a certain way to be successful. And so that is why so many people are so concerned with their outward appearance, is because they fear that people are going to reject them. And it is so sad to see, especially our young girls, succumbing to the point where they are altering themselves, and in other countries they're bleaching their skin, and all these things because they are not accepted for who they are. And it's such a shame. But it's time to stop worrying about what everybody else has to say about you. And it's time to rise up and build yourself from within so that you can learn how to love yourself for who you really are. Because God has made you beautifully, just the way you are. All right. So number 5, we're moving right along. It's the fear of loneliness. Now, I deal with this one a whole lot because I teach a class along with my business partner, Gail Crowder, who's also on this series called Seal the Deal, A Single Woman's Guide to Love and Relationships. And we teach this class all over the country. And the fear of loneliness is very, very real. I've heard so many stories about women just feeling lonely. And the fear of loneliness is really this feeling of emptiness caused by the absence of interaction with another human being. But I'm here to say that loneliness, and that fear of being lonely, you don't have to only be fulfilled by a man in your life. You can be fulfilled by girlfriends and by family and by those other people. But most of the time, these feelings make you feel uneasy because you want to have that interaction. You want to go out to the movies. You want to enjoy human interaction. And I think that we all strive on human interaction. So that's something that you have to build in your life. But you don't only have to get that interaction from an opposite sex. That's what I want to make you aware of, that we all need to have that interaction, but maybe you can get that interaction from someone in your family, from a sister or a brother or a mother or a father or a girlfriend. But that's one of those fears, fear of loneliness. And then number 6 is the fear of inadequacy. Wow. This one is a big one because the fear of inadequacy is all about the standards and expectations that we set for ourselves. It's the standards that we set for ourselves, not the standards that other people necessarily set for us, but it's what we want to accomplish. And sometimes we're not very realistic. Let me be honest. We're not very realistic about our standards and those expectations. We'll say stuff like, man, I should have had my PhD by now. And yes, you could say that. But at the same time, you've had all these other amazing experiences and circumstances that have gone on in your life that has caused you not to have your PhD, but it doesn't mean that you're inadequate. The one thing is, if you continue to grow yourself and be better, nobody can take that away from you. You don't have to feel inadequate. But what we do is we set these expectations based on fallacies in our life, based on what people have told us where we should be. And so we then set our standards by society's rules and then say, I'm inadequate because I haven't done that. But that's not true. But we still make ourselves feel that way. So you have to learn that, you have to set the standard with what's reasonable for you, not for what everybody else is saying is reasonable for you. And then number seven of the 7 fears that most women deal with is the fear of lack or the fear of poverty. Okay, this is a really, really good one because, we all want to be successful. Nobody wants to be in poverty. Nobody wants to be in lack. And I know that this one is a huge one for so many of you. And so, but the poverty is defined as a situation that comes from a lack of resources needed to completely fulfill our human needs. Okay, I mean, these include the basics like food, water, shelter. But in reality, some of us fear lacking those other things that we perceive make us happy, like a nice car, like a nice house, that Gucci bag, all those things. We actually want those things. And when we can't have those, we fear that we're going to lack those things. But here's the problem with the fear of lack. The fear of lack will keep you stuck in a place that you don't want to be with your job and all of those things because you're too scared to step out from your comfort zones and go for something new. That's what the fear of lack can do for you. I had the fear of lack in my life, and then I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But that thing was so prevalent on me that I, did a lot of different things that I couldn't rectify until I faced all my fears. And so out of these 7 fears, I want you to type in your chat which one you faced the most. And I'll go down those 7 again because I want to hear what you're thinking and which one of these you're facing. So we have the fear of the unknown. We have the fear of failure. We have the fear of pain. We have the fear of rejection, the fear of loneliness, the fear of inadequacy, and the fear of lack. Which one of those do you face in your life? I see someone says that they face the fear of the unknown and the fear of rejection and the fear of inadequacy. I understand that these things are real. And the reason why I'm telling you about them is because it's time that we really recognize them and we actually dealt with them. And so now, I hope you've had your pen and paper out before right now because we've already gone over a lot of stuff. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you 3 things that you can use to change your life and to help you overcome these fears, whichever ones you are facing right now. These are 3 tools that I've used throughout my entire life. These are 3 tools that I teach women on a regular basis throughout my coaching and throughout my Get Courageous 2-day seminar. And so I'm really going to teach you these things, and so that they can help you overcome your fears of inadequacy, the unknown, and any of those other 7 that you actually said are a problem for you. So let's get into it. Number 1 is you have to wake up and acknowledge your fears. This is huge. This is the first step for you to do anything, which means you have to be honest with where you are in your life. If you fear the lack of poverty and that scares you, then you truly need to say so. You have to wake up and acknowledge that. Let me tell you a little quick story. I've always wanted to be a very successful person, pretty much like all of the women who I meet. We have our dreams, we have our God-given purposes, and we want to reach those desires. And so I've had that for a very long time in my life. And I decided that I was going to join a business and try to make my dreams come true. Well, I joined the business, but I didn't have the passion for that business. And so therefore, I didn't do the work. But I would blame myself, and I would have all these fears of inadequacy because I put all these big expectations on my life, but I decided that I didn't do the work. I just wasn't feeling motivated. And so one day, as I was coming home from one of our business meetings, I realized that, for the lack of a better word, that my life sucked. I mean, it sucked. I realized that I was me and my husband were pulling into a home that was in the process of foreclosure. Our cars were in danger of being repossessed, and we were flat out broke and unhappy, period. That was the reality. But here I was saying that I'm this awesome business person, which I knew I could have been, but I wasn't doing the work. But my reality was I was pulling into a house in foreclosure, cars was being repossessed, and we didn't have the money that we needed. That was the reality. And that night, I had to acknowledge everything that I was fearful about and why I wasn't working the business like I needed to work my business. I had to acknowledge that I was scared that I was going to fail. I had to acknowledge that I was being lazy about making sure I contacted people. I had to acknowledge that I didn't really have the passion for that business like I thought I would. I had to acknowledge all those things and all those fears. Let me ask you, where are you at in your life today? Have you truly acknowledged where you are? Because if you haven't, today is the day to stand up and say, this is where I am, and you face your reality. Because when you choose to face your reality, you choose to take back your power. Because I know some of you are like me. I didn't want to face my reality at all. I didn't want to know that my situation was so bad, or I had let it gotten so bad. I mean, because I was turning a blind eye to everything. I didn't want to realize that. But the truth is, it is what it was. And in order for me to really, truly overcome that fear, I had to acknowledge where I was at, and then I had to take some responsibility for where I was at, which is number 2. You have to accept responsibility for your life. And you have to accept responsibility for the things that had happened in your life. That's good. Because here's the thing. I know that accepting responsibility might be a hard thing for you, but here's the thing. It doesn't matter if it's hard, you have to do it. I don't care if you caused the hurt or someone else caused you to hurt. It's still your life. It was still my life. I did and made some decisions that I shouldn't have made in that whole process. Me and my husband both. But at the same time, we made the decisions. And as long as we were blaming somebody else for the decisions that we were making in our lives, we were going to be hostage. You hear me? Hostage to our fears. And as long as you decide that you're not going to accept responsibility for your own life and the things that have happened in your life, you're going to be hostage to your own fears and to your own bondage. Accepting responsibility carries no blame. But what it does do is that it gives you the absolute power, and I do mean power, to then control your own life and your own destiny. That's what it does. I've dealt with so many women who have had relationship issues and who've had certain things done to them in the past, especially when they were children. And it is a very difficult thing. I empathize. But when you decide to accept responsibility, you decide that you're going to take back your power and you're going to rise up and you're going to move forward. Because that is the only way to move forward. As long as you're placing blame on someone else, you will stay stuck. So that night, as I was pulling into our driveway, just realizing that my life sucked, I had to truly face my fears and say, okay, this is not at all what I thought my life was going to be like at this point. This just is not it. I never thought that I'd be facing foreclosure. I never thought that I'd be facing cars being repossessed. I never thought that I could look at my bank account and just see no money. That thing is real. But I sat there in that car, and before I got out, I made a decision that I was going to accept responsibility for my life. And that night is the night I decided to quit that business. And that night was the night I decided to open Kiki Ramsey International, which is what my company now that helps and empower women all over the country to discover their purpose and to get courageous. That's the night I decided. Did I know all the steps and every single thing that I was going to have to go through to get this business up and running? Absolutely not. But do you have to know all the steps? Absolutely not. You just have to take responsibility. Because, see, I knew that if I continued to blame others and if I continued to be lazy about my life, then I was going to get what was coming to me, which was house being foreclosed and cars repossessed. But I'm happy to say that my house was never foreclosed. Yes, cars got repossessed, but guess what? You can always get another car, which is what I did. So you can't let your obstacles and your trials send you over the deep end, because those things are only things. And if God had allowed my house to get to go into foreclosure, then that's what he would allow to do, because that's only a material thing. But the one thing I knew I still had was my mind, and I knew that he loved me regardless of my circumstances. He loves you regardless of your circumstances. Those things are just things. Accept responsibility for where you are. Take back your power today, because this is going to empower you to move forward in your life. All right. And the third step you have to take, which is a big one, is you have to learn to forgive. I said it, forgiveness. Forgiveness is key in your life if you need to move forward. Forgiveness is a process of letting go and surrendering all blame, hurts, and pains you've experienced in your life. Forgiveness is about you. Let me say it again. Forgiveness is about you and not the other person. When you choose to forgive, you choose to, when you choose not to forgive, you choose to allow your pain of the situation to control you. So we want to be the boss, and we want to be in control of everything, but yet and still we harbor so much unforgiveness in our lives. And really, that unforgiveness and that hurt and pain that we choose to hold on to and that we don't want to let go of, it's running you. You ain't running it. I've had women who told me, I don't want to forgive because this person did this to me and this person did that to me. Okay, if you don't want to forgive, choose to stay stuck. Because that's exactly what you're trying to do. That's exactly what you're doing. When you don't want to forgive, you choose to stay stuck then. Because when you come to me and you want me to help you change your life, you're going to have to unleash some of this baggage that you've been holding back, that's been holding you back for so long. And forgiveness is one of those processes. And when you are so hardcore and you're so angry, you choose to stay stuck. And trust me, I understand. I understand exactly where you're coming from when it hurts so much. I've hurt so much in my life, I thought my heart was going to just pump out of my chest. It's been that painful. But at the same time, the process has healed me to a place where I can help other women learn to release that unforgiveness. And so part of that process is you have to confess how this pain, how this situation, how this person has hurt you so much. But then you also, at the end of that confession, you have to say, I forgive you, I bless you, and I ask God to bless you. Because there is truly blessings in the blessing. You can't truly forgive someone and want to see harm done to them. It doesn't work that way. You just can't do it. You got to truly let it go. And am I saying that this is a one-time thing and it's over, said, and done? Absolutely not. It's a process. You might need to confess every day. You might need to confess every week. But the part is you have to do it. You have to learn to forgive. So I hope this has been so helpful for you, because this is the foundation of what it takes for you to begin to overcome your fears and get courageous in your life. Now, what I'm about to do is I'm about to open it up for some questions. I really want to answer your questions as it pertains to fear, the fears that you've been dealing and experiencing, and I want to see if I can help you overcome some of those. Now, before I do that, I just want to tell you about one thing I quickly have for you. I am the founder of the Get Courageous movement. And so what that means is it's a movement that has truly empowered women to overcome their fears. And if you decide that you want to join the Get Courageous movement tonight, here's what you're committing to. The movement itself is basically a challenge. It's a mission. It's a proclamation. It's a promise to yourself in front of the whole world now, because we see you. I want you to stand with me that you're going to do whatever it takes to discover your purpose and live out your purpose. Because I truly believe that all of us have a purpose. God has placed you on earth for a reason. And it's my job to help you deliver and unleash that purpose in your life. So when you choose to take the movement, the pledge, when you choose to join me and stand with me, here's what you're saying. You're saying that you commit to discover and live out your purpose each and every day to make this world a better place. You promise to get courageous every day by stepping out of your comfort zone and face your fears even when you're scared. And you promise to never quit or give up on your dreams. Now, I think that's a pledge worthy of actually taking. Now, if you decide that you want to take this pledge from now until a week from now, if you take the pledge, and I also have a survey that I want you to take, then I'll send you a free audio, the 10 things every woman should know in 2014. That audio is an amazing audio. It was so good that women are still asking for that audio. And so I want to make that available to you for free, but you have to go on and take the pledge. I think that we have a picture of what you'll get when you take the pledge. You actually get a certificate that you print off, and you put your name on the certificate and you date it, so that when you take that pledge, you can hang this up somewhere where you can see it, and you know that these are the things that you're committing to, because I want to help women to commit to change their lives. So when you commit, those are the 3 things that you're committing to, and I want to help you change your life. And so if you will go to kikiramsey.com/GC movement, and we'll put that other flyer back up there. That is where you will actually take the pledge. If you go to kikiramsey.com//GC movement, that's where you can take the pledge. You'll be able to print off your certificate, and then I'll email you so that I can give you the survey. You'll get an email into your email box so that you can take the survey, and once you do that, I'm going to send you that audio of the 10 things that every woman, and I mean every woman, these are amazing things. These 10 things can change your life at this very moment. So I'm going to send you those things. All right? So I definitely want to thank you so much. I want you to go to that page and take the pledge. And also maybe I'll see some of you at Get Courageous, which is happening November 7th and 8th. That is my 2-day seminar where I'm going to truly teach you how to get courageous. And so go to that website and you'll see both of those things. Now, what I want to do is I want to take some of your questions and everything. So I see that we have, I guess we're talking about the fear of the unknown and the fear of lack. So what I said is the fear of unknown is your attempt to control what happens in your life. And if you've been living for any amount of time, you will have to understand that you can't control your life. God controls. You can make plans, and this is what you should do, but you cannot be the one that control your life. And if you have the fear of the unknown, if this is one of your biggest ones, then you have to realize that you're going to have to sometimes take a step back and let things happen and have faith, because we can't always know what's going to happen. I don't really always want to know what's going to happen. I want God to do work, because all the time, let me say this, all the time, he normally does better than what I can do. He does better than what I could ever imagine he can do. So that's the fear of the unknown. The fear of lack is that fear of poverty. A lot of us don't move. We don't get new jobs. We don't start new businesses. We don't venture out and start new relationships because we fear that we're going to lack. But that will keep you stuck in positions that you don't want to be in. Sometimes you have to just trust and go out there and find that new job. Because the only thing you can do, the one thing you have to do is ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? And if the worst that can happen don't kill you, then you need to go for it. If the worst that can happen doesn't kill you, then you need to take a step forward, because things are just things. Things don't mean your life is over. So I have another question. What are other fears people have? Well, those are the main fears. I mean, people say that they fear success, but really people fear failure, because people are scared that if they move forward and something isn't right in their lives, then they are going to be a failure. And so therefore they feel failure. These are the main ones when it comes to the 7 main fears. And those are the ones that I really wanted to focus on, because we can get into what are some of the other fears and all that kind of stuff. But really, if I ask you a question, pretty much mostly all of your fears will come from this. All right. So if there are no other questions, I want to thank you so much, Tawawn, for having me tonight. I have just really enjoyed myself, and I hope that you women have been blessed. If you have not already connected with me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, I'm Kiki Ramsey. That's Kiki Ramsey. And I really want to see you take the challenge in the movement, because I am here to help you discover your purpose. And I really want to be a vessel of God, and I want you to discover who He has made you and who and what He has made you to do. Thank you, Tawawn.
Well, thank you so much, Kiki. I just love the new definition of fear. Face everything, rise.
Yep.
I had to post it on Facebook because I think that is absolutely awesome.
Yay.
And I think it's just